Hello tanks and tankettes, and welcome to a World of Tanks replay. I haven't used that opening phrase in a while, have I? I did say I wasn't really going to be doing World of Tanks games on my channel anymore, but I also reserved the right to make exceptions here and there, and this is definitely one of them. This is a duck game from Nova Prime, and this landed in my inbox more or less at the right time for me to go, oh yeah, I'll use that for a holidays video, because I have done that in past years. I've either gone for this, or I think I've done the KV2 on occasion. I seem to remember doing a KV2 Christmas video several years ago. Both somewhat iconic tanks in my mind anyway, for different reasons. And although this isn't particularly good matchmaking, in fact it's rather bottom tier, it's not quite the I don't know, is this one of the templates? It's like 447, but yeah, it's not top tier anyway. What is, however, quite useful is though that there aren't any top tier heavy tanks. In fact, there's barely any heavy tanks in this whatsoever. There is, however, the downside, of course, of there inevitably not only being an M44, but also a Lefebvre on the enemy team. In fact, their own team's got an M44 as well, so I can see that the popularity of the M44 has not diminished one iota. This is the 75mm gun he's packing, so not particularly accurate, not particularly fast rate of fire, but the damage is at least decent for a tier 4 gun, and you don't have a lot of options when it comes to this tank anyway, so you'll see most people using this gun still these days. I think there's some people maybe out there, I mean I featured such a game myself in the past where it was somebody using the small gun. What caliber is it? Even like a 45mm gun? I can't even remember. 47mm? But a rather... no, was it even a 37mm? No, I think it was a 47mm. It's 47mm for the low caliber French ones. And yeah, that's always been not a good gun to use on this tank especially. I mean, you get to use the ball turret if you use that gun, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. Then the penetration is frankly terrible. Not that the pen on this gun is particularly great either. So he's boldly pressing forwards, and they've lost at least 2 people on this flank already. There's quite the enemy firing line up there, but I don't think he's actually been spotted yet. In fact, one of their top tier tanks, the Buggy, which probably stands for something in Polish, I'm guessing. Is that one of the Polish tanks? I don't know. They were in the middle of the slag heaps, and they've managed to get taken out already, and I think they've already lost one of their other tier 6s, so that's a good start. They've only got the Nashorn left at this stage, so yeah. But the enemy team has lost also, I think, 2 of theirs, so it's just the AC4 with that nasty... oh no, they're still at their Buggy. In fact, no, they haven't lost any of theirs. The SU-100Y is also still alive, so just I'm just doing the thing I do where I speak and then realise I'm talking nonsense. At least sometimes I realise I'm talking nonsense, other times I don't realise it, and people laugh at me in the comments. So he's made it this far without taking any damage, but there's that AC4 with, of course, a 17-pounder gun, and although that one takes him in the tracks, while he's popping out, I mean, to at least pen this guy, he's putting himself in rather a lot of danger, getting shot in return. But he's managing to, with this angle, I mean, the guy's not maybe aiming that well, and he's also putting shots at people behind him, but it wasn't going to last, and just one of those hits was enough to shave off quite a lot of his hit points. I mean, this does at least have more health than it did back in the day, but it's still not exactly a huge wodge of health. Takes another hit from the Hetzer, but they are now out of commission, and now it's just this Panzer 3J. It's maybe even worth noting that the AC4, despite being top tier, despite having what, like 170 average pen, it's a really good gun for being top tier with. In fact, even down tiered, that gun holds up pretty well. They were still firing full APCR because reasons. Did Wargaming ever go through with that thing of lowering? I mean, I know it's now called special ammo officially, but it still just behaves the same, right? It's still just higher penetration for higher cost. They didn't, like, nerf the amount of damage the shells do or anything like that, did they? As far as I know, they didn't, but I really haven't been paying attention to World of Tanks. Oh, there was one other thing. I mean, we're now, like, most of both team is dead. Most of you know, the ones that are alive are approaching each other's caps, so we're definitely approaching the denouement. This isn't a particularly long game, and it feels weirdly short compared to what my like even a short World of Warships replay is usually at least twice this. But yeah, the one other thing I was going to mention was that this isn't the first time I featured Nova Prime in the AMX 40, but last time was just about 4 years ago. It was in 2016, so quite a lot has changed since then, in even just World of Tanks, and, you know, globally as well, I suppose. So both teams going for the cap, but they've got far more people in the cap, and although they are clustered around a kind of a maybe obvious target, yeah, no RT blind fire gets them in time, and they are actually able to get the win through capping. And as a bonus, Nova Prime even gets an extra hit and a kill. Now, because he wasn't running a premium account, he still lost credits on that game on a tier 4, where I don't think he, like, did he fire any premium ammo there? I don't think he did. And managed to place 3rd on the team with about 600 XP and a pretty creditable amount of damage. And it was actually one of his fellow tier 4s that did the most damage on that team, the M8A1, so that's not a bad result at all. But there weren't really many hard targets on the enemy team in that one. That was a pretty decent matchup for having a weak amount of penetration with your gun, which sadly when you're bottom tier like that is not often the case. Or at least it wasn't often the case back when I was playing this game regularly, and I don't imagine that's changed particularly now. So, though this felt quite nostalgic to sit down and do a World of Tanks replay, it's definitely not going to be a regular occurrence. As I said at the start, it's the kind of thing I'm going to do for special occasions, because I just kind of gave up on World of Tanks. I just became done with it a long time ago, and it's the kind of thing I dip back into now and then, very occasionally, but never for very long. It never takes me very long for the frustration level to build up past the point where it's worth my time playing it, quite frankly. And I think we're well past the point where any changes they could have made would entice me back, unless they were super radical. So yeah, I look back on my time with World of Tanks with some amount of fondness, but you know, I'm done with it now, and I don't have any regrets in that regard. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, you can do all the usual things down underneath it. And of course, as always, stay tuned for more.